if you can't think on your feet, then
I mean,
what
the
really what would that
last couple, I would have been here to rep the Conservative Party, but I was kicked from our government, so I'm not going to get into that.
And whose fault is that?
It was.
Don't say it's Tim's, because it's not.
Yeah. Tim,
All
what do you
right.
think?
It's secretly Tim's fault.
So, this is being recorded. I'm hoping that no one actually has an issue with that. If anyone is gun shy, let me know, and we'll give you a chance to step out, have someone else substitute for you. But
Social media scares me. I'm just kidding.
so,
Okay.
for the first question, please just only speak in turn. I'm gonna post these in debate chat. You guys can all see that, right? Debate chat.
Debate questions.
Yeah,
Debate
debate
chat.
chat's visible.
Okay.
We can see debate chat, yes.
Okay. Actually, I'm gonna delete that. All right. So I'm posting the order for question 1. Now you guys can all see it. So, starting with Iron, the first question, the same question for everyone here. Why does your party need to exist? What is not being done with other parties? Why do we even need your party in this small government?
All right, wonderful. Great question, Tim. I'm glad to be here. So the reason the Socialist Party is essential to our mock government is because right now our party is dominated by, or sorry, our country is dominated by capitalist forces. The most influential party in our government right now is, of course, the Libertarian Party. They've had the most votes in our Senate for as long as our country has been around. Unlike my libertarian comrades, the Socialist Party, our main mission is defending the rights of the workers and making sure that they get their fair share and are not dominated by the greed of corporations left unregulated to do whatever they want, consolidate wealth, form monopolies, and prey on those that don't have the means to protect themselves because of the unfair system that we have set up. The reason the Socialist Party is so essential is because we are an umbrella party for all people on the left to make sure we have socialist representation in our libertarian-dominated country. No other party defends the rights of workers to the extent that the Socialist Party does, and I think that's it. I think that explains it.
All right. Same question to Andrew Robertson for the Conservative Party. Why does your party even need to exist in this mock government?
Because it's based, I don't know.
All right.
Well, I guess you could say that you also need some conservative ideals and right-wing people in this, besides just libertarians and left-wing people. So, yeah, I'm not the greatest person at explaining why we need this and why questions. So, and plus, I've never done one of these before, so sorry about that.
Okay. So same question is to Scavenger Burke for the Libertarian Party.
All right. So with the government of Bluetopia, we did not have the ability to sit down and hammer out a bunch of the government all at once, as many other nations in the world have been able to. Because of that, we have to build Bluetopia up brick by brick. And in that brick building process, we need to make sure that the government is not overreaching, is not creeping into people's lives more than it needs to, while still recognizing that there is that minimal amount of government needed for society to exist and the utopia to continue as it is. Because of that, the libertarians need to be in the government in order to keep our more left-leaning constituents and our left-leaning members of government from going too far when it comes to government intervention and involvement in society and people's lives. So with that, the libertarians exist to allow the government to function properly while not overreaching, and to make sure that people's individual liberties are maximized during that precarious balance. Thank you.
All right. So same question. Why does your party even need to exist in this mock government? Goes to EXP for the United Party.
Well, primarily, First off, I'd like to clarify that while the Libertarian Party has done quite a good job in retrospect to changing the system, I believe that we need to have proper representation for the moderate base, in the sense that people refraining to the middle between the socialists at the left and the libertarians at the right of a spectrum. I believe in having this one-dimensional retrospect, we'd probably fit more relatively easily in this mock government. Also, the last time we had a centrist party was in the first mock election. I think that it's about time that we have some proper representation for the centrist base in this party.
All right. Same question as to Waffle Boy for the Harvesters.
My party represents the truth of the statement that scientific progression has been the truly motivating force behind human comfort, safety, and stability over its entire history. This principle is what my party chooses to highlight, and will do all in our power to ensure is provided to the people. For too long, mankind has stagnated with the idea that it's always the fault of some group in society for the cause of our suffering, when it is ourselves and our own biological nature that is the problem. We hold ourselves back. I choose to remove that blockage.
All right. Same question to Jack. Why does the Green Party need to exist in the smart government?
I don't know if you just said that to me because my Discord just decided to die on me. Sorry, say again.
Why does the Green Party need to exist in the mock government?
Okay. I think that a Green Party, or the Green Party, should exist within Bluetopia on a few basic principles. One being that up to now, no party, none whatsoever, be it the Libertarians or be it the USP or the Socialist Alliance, have actually incorporated environmental protections into their bills, into the policies they wish to put forward, and into the laws that have already been written and put into place within Bluetopia. Secondly, I believe that the Green Party can act as a more moderate alternative to parties like the Socialist Alliance and can actually bring about genuine change through cooperation and through democratic means, and ensure that all people have equal opportunity within society, whilst also ensuring that our economy still functions on a basis of friendly competition between companies, between individuals, and ensure that people can work hard and receive a fair share for the work they do. The third point would be to change laws that have already been put in place, such as the tax structure we currently have. Currently, it is topped out at 15%, and myself and members of the Green Party believe that we need to elaborate more on this. We need to focus on funding our services, funding the services that all people will use, something that so far has been disregarded by the current libertarian government. And finally, I believe that the Green Party should exist on the basis of holding other parties to account for their actions, the actions of their members, the policies that they wish to put in place, and the policies that have already been put in place, whether they are right-wing or left-wing.
All right. And finally, Snick for the Pursuiter Party. Have you written anything up yet?
He wrote it.
Okay.
Okay. So you look at the conservatives and the libertarians, and see they are starkly different. And honestly, power hungry. Mostly the libs. The pursuiters are here to bring two parties closer through the means of policies that are not right, not left, but correct. We need to make sure that these large parties cannot be allowed to control the government forever, as we need new faces that can represent the people and let the people's voices be heard. You earn your fair share, and you get your fair share.
All right. So thanks. So that concludes the first question, guys. We're going to just move right along to the next question. This next question is asking you guys, what is the number one issue that you would like to see brought forward into the mock government? And if it's brought forward, what would you want to do to address the issue? So we're going to start. I'll post this list so people can be prepared. Snick, lucky you, you're last again, so you got plenty of time to write it. But Scavenger Burke for the Libertarian Party, you're first up.
All right. So I know it has been tried before in the past, but nevertheless, I do feel it is something that needs to be addressed in the government, and that is the fact that we currently do not have a formal Bill of Rights or any, defined list of rights for the people of Bluetopia outside of 2 or 3 things that have been passed, and those are freedom of speech and gun rights. Outside of that, there aren't really any rights that the people of Bluetopia are entitled to. And so, as the Libertarian Party is a firm believer in negative rights, aka rights that you are inherently endowed with, and that the government recognizes and does not give you, but recognizes, it would be of great importance to us to address this lacking of the government recognizing people's rights that are inherent to them as individuals and as humans. And so, if we do have that opportunity, that is something we would vigorously pursue. And I believe it is in the best interest of everyone in the Bluetopian government to pass a very basic Bill of Rights that is limited to these negative rights, and similar to the U.S. Constitution, we can add greater rights to that as time moves on and as we move forward. But we need to cover the very basics first and foremost. Thank you.
Waffle Boy, what is your same question? What is the number one issue you'd like to see brought forward, and what would your policy be on it?
Personally, I would want a Bill of Rights as well. Bill of Rights has been something that's been long overdue. I tried to put one forth a while ago before it was stricken down as an omnibus by a certain gentleman who shall not be named. And as a part of that, you can't really have a Bill of Rights without also defining a legal system to protect those rights. Because the legal system is what truly ensures that rights aren't infringed. As much as the government does that, the legal body is what does it too. And it's been far too long we've been living in a nation as citizens of Bluetopia where we do not have a legal system, where law can be disregarded blatantly, where you are allowed to have an army in a lawless land. This is unacceptable. It encourages human suffering, and as such, my party will put an end to it.
Okay. Next question. I'm sorry. Same question to Jack.
Right. Again, sorry, my connection's been a bit shit. As much as obviously myself and the Green Party would also like to see a Bill of Rights put into place, the one main issue that we want to address is the issue of the environment. And what we would like to see brought forth for Bluetopia would be a comprehensive environmental protections bill that would be written into law through cooperation of not only the Green Party but various other parties to ensure that the environment is protected, to ensure that both public sector and private sector companies do not abuse the environment, to ensure that there are necessary protections put in place for things like, I don't know, perhaps mining, the extraction of resources, for the expansion of urban areas, for the emissions of CO2 in whether it be factories, vehicles, anything you can really imagine. This bill would obviously be very broad scale. It would include a lot of information. It would include a lot of hard work as well. Like I said, cooperating with various other parties, coming together to write this bill and formulate it into a structure that can be voted on and approved by those within the government, by those within the Senate or Parliament, whatever you want to say. And I think that would probably be the main aim of the Green Party, to get comprehensive environmental protections written into law within Bluetopia.
Okay. Same question for Iron. Oh, I'm sorry. This is for EXP now. United Party.
Thank you, Tim. So first and foremost, I'd like to clarify that yes, do stand for the Bill of Rights idea, but we also would like to propose a full-fledged constitution in full frame in retrospect to define what the law is and necessarily what you can and cannot do, but also to ensure and protect the rights of the citizens of Plutopia. Secondly, I think we should also focus more on scientific research into stem cell research, other mechanisms for like healthcare industry, perhaps a universal basic income for certain poverty groups. We'd also would like to introduce another aeronautics and space administration, which could also potentially find resources in space mining to capitalize and off of the vast resources that are out there in outer space. And finally, of course, we'd probably like to see just the restoration of a democratic process and make sure that every single party gets a fair share in government. And that is the overall standpoint of the Unity Party.
All right, and Iron for the Socialist Alliance.
Sure, thank you, Tim. I would like to say that I would also be supporting a Bill of Rights. I think first and foremost, what we should be looking out for is, protecting the rights of our citizens and the workers, and making sure the government isn't overreaching. But in the interest of trying to have a variety of answers, instead, I will say one of the bills that I personally would really like to be seen debated and written in our mock government would be a bill on healthcare. We need to be thinking about what kind of legislation we could be passing that would significantly be improving the lives of our citizens, and what issues are most pressing and immediate to our citizens today. And one of the most, I think, important issues is the issue of healthcare. Nobody should be going impoverished because they break an arm. Nobody should be going having to take loans out because their child gets sick. If you get sick and you can't work, you deserve to be protected. We should be looking at ways to protect our most vulnerable people. And as much as I would like to be talking about our space exploration or things like that EXP had brought up, and I would love to pass bills, approving stem cell research and scientific research. But I think the government should be first and foremost concerned about is the well-being of our citizens and keeping the worst off among us living a decent life and happy. And so I would like to see a healthcare bill.
Okay, Andrew Robertson.
Well, I guess I'm just going to go ahead and jump on the train too with the Bill of Rights. I would like to see that too, but more importantly, what I would like to see is a constitution that lays out our utopian government. Because, like, when with the United States, there's a constitution that lays out the three branches. Like, we need a judicial system, we need a legislative system, and it depends on how our government runs, but we need a structure that sets it up like that. But what I also would like to really see us working on is the military. Like, I would like to see a bunch of military bills, us creating a military, all that stuff. Because, like, I believe that if, like, your nation does not have a military, you're vulnerable. And you need something to protect yourself, like a military.
All right. Same question for the Pursuiter Party.
Oh, yeah. Hold on. Let's see where. There it is. Like everyone else up here, the Pursuiter Party does support a Bill of Rights. We only have 6 parties that can make it. You saw how poorly things went the last time when the Libs were the dominant party. All the other parties did not have the voices heard during our last session, and we were all drowned out by the Libertarians. You constantly hear Burke bragging about how the Libs passed basically 100% of the bills. This isn't partisan. The last session was a bipartisan government in favor of the Libertarians. If the Party of Pursuits proceeds, our first order of business will be passing bipartisan bill that allows any party into the parliament if they get the votes of at least 10 to 15% of all votes. The exact number will be decided on once in parliament. Active voters would be decided at the end of the election, and if a party gains at least the minimal percentage of votes, then their party will gain seats, reflective to their percentage. This will give all parties a fair chance to make it and not have the big 6, mostly the Libs, run the show. Sorry for the big one this time.
Okay. So, let's see. I will go ahead and set up a new order. So the next question here, we are doing something a little bit different here this time. Let me just set up this third order. So this time in our market government, we are going to have a prime minister. The function of the prime minister is each week the admin team is going to come up with 3 policy topics, and the prime minister will be able to select which of those 3 topics the government will actually discuss on the given week. So the way that a prime minister is going to be chosen is after the election. Once it's finalized, we'll tally all the votes, and then the parties will vote for their own party leaders, and then the leaders will amongst themselves talk to each other and try to create a coalition government. And basically all they need to do is find a coalition that creates a majority of members, and then the members of those parties can run to be prime minister, and they can run to be prime minister, and the members of those parties will be voting in this election. So with that in mind, you will probably have to work with certain parties to form a coalition. The question is, what parties do you see yourself forming a coalition with? And we will start with Waffle Boy.
So, as always, I'm willing to reach across the aisle to any party as long as they're willing to understand our perspective, the truth in our words, and understand why we do what we do. I am not against coalition with any party that is at the end of this road ahead. But if they choose not to, that's them. They chose not to agree to what it is that we put forth. And as such, the coalition will always be on them, not me. I'm willing to work with everyone to make a better party, a better world. It's up to them to come with me.
All right, same question for EXP.
Well, isn't it just me, or am I getting used to my own boots here? All right. So, in retrospect to the coalitions, personally, if I had to pick, I would just go with anybody. But at the same time, I don't think I want to represent centrist that way, because our party isn't necessarily 100% centrist. We're more so of the leaning of a social democracy with a popular democratic reform. But in regards to parties, we are willing to work with almost any party, really, as long as you focused on the facts and place logic before policy. I think that if we can come together and find the most sensible policy, then I'm all for it. Thumbs up. For specific parties that we would definitely would like to see potential coalitions with, I think the Green Party is a party that actually has a lot in common with us to some respects, but I think we could also team up with the 2 largest parties, the Socialist Alliance Party and the Libertarian Party. In regards to conservatives, I think we could find something for the military to accommodate with for modernized technological warfare without the need to use up our own civilians in time of war. For such as Volunteers Party, I think we could find a way to reduce taxes for certain groups that are impoverished and need that quick break. And for almost any other party, we definitely can work with a 100% reformation of the education system, which one that truly champions both the student and the teacher, and finally have a well-balanced banking system, which allows to redistribute wealth, but not in the sense of full redistribution, but more so regulation within the economy. And I think we could also do a healthcare bill with some left-leaning parties and right-leaning parties. Overall, it's a big tent, and you're welcome to stay and come as you please.
All right. And same question to Jack for the Green Party.
Sorry about that. I think, as is written in the platform of the Green Party, which has been posted many times, but I can post it again if anyone's interested in reading it. The Green Party are willing to work with any other party on the basis of they will protect the rights of A, the people of Bluetopia, and B, will go out of their way to protect the environment. That was a bit thrown together, but I think you get what I mean. So, similar to what Waffle said, really, we are willing to work with any party, provided that we can come to a common consensus on the issue at hand, and we can, go from there, hopefully formulate a bill together, form a relationship, not only between party leadership, but also between party members. I believe probably out of all of the parties, that there isn't one that we'd work with more than another. We've recently, going on to the democratic structure of the party, we've recently had a vote internally about what parties our members would like us to work with. And while I won't say what the results were, because it is currently still ongoing, I believe, the common consensus is that we will work with most parties, providing that they will protect the environment, protect the rights of people, and will, be able to take criticism and also give criticism back to our party. So I guess you could say we're very pragmatic. We're willing to work with people if there is a common consensus being formed between those two parties.
Okay, and let's see. This was same question to who was next in line here. Andrew Robertson.
Sorry, my fingers up. I really see the Conservatives working with almost just about anybody. If I look on at the list of the parties, the Libertarian and the Pursuiters are a definite yes, we would work along with. The Socialist Alliance, I mean, I really like most of the members in the Socialist Alliance. Like, they're really nice and all this stuff. It's just the policies they put forward I just don't agree with a lot. But there is a chance of us working with the Socialist Alliance. It's just it has to fit our needs and all that stuff. The Green Party, I don't think most conservatives are like all that extremely environmental, but we are environmental in the case, so we can work along with that. United Party, I guess you guys are centrist, so I guess that's okay. We can work with centrists, that's fine. And I'm okay with working with harvesters because a STEM project's all right with me. So really, I'll work with anybody as long as it fits my views and ideals. Really, that's all I'm going to do.
Iron?
Great. So, as pretty much every other party has said before me, the Socialist Party would be willing, of course, to work with any other party that we believe shares our goals and principles. Even in the past election cycle, my friend of the Libertarian Party, Berkarov, and I co-authored a bill together. We are willing to reach across the aisle and work with our comrades all over Bluetopia, as long as it is in the pursuit of better working conditions and progress for the people of Bluetopia. I'm going to take this opportunity to plug a couple of the principles that I would like to see from other parties that would make us more inclined to work with them. Things like making sure that corporations aren't exploiting their workers. We want healthcare available for all people, preferably free at point of use. We want environmentalist protections. Just like the Green Party, the environment is very important to us, and environmental protections are enshrined in our Constitution. We love investments in education and STEM, and we would definitely be willing to work with the harvesters on improving the science. We want to see rights for LGBT people, other minorities, and all people, equal rights for everybody. Like I said, we even worked with the Libertarians last session. I would not rule out working with any party as long as they're willing to compromise with us.
All right. Sorry, I was just laughing at something. All right. So next after it was just Iron is the Pursuiter Party, and after that, Scavenger with the Libertarians.
Was it Pursuiter next?
Mm-hmm.
I thought they were going last every time.
No, it's actually just randomized. It was sheer
Okay.
luck they were last twice.
I would make a coalition with anyone who understood my views and would be able to admit their mistakes. As long as we have similar views on certain issues, I'd be happy to join with them. Open arms. Now, I've definitely criticized the Social Alliance before, but their leaders are kind and sensible people who I wouldn't mind passing policies with. The only party I may not form a coalition with might be the Greens, as they haven't been one of the most sensible nor logical parties. Unless they're willing to admit their faults, I'd happily work with them. But in their current state, I don't know what would be possible.
All right, and Scavenger for the Libertarians.
All right. So, as my colleague in the newly renamed Socialist Alliance pointed out, we did reach across the aisle and work with them on passing legislation. If you look at our track record for the last legislative cycle, every bill that passed was either authored or co-authored by the Libertarians. But that being said, we also reached out on nearly every issue that we worked on with other parties to see if we could find something that worked better. And there were several weeks where it was either a yes or no bill because we had worked with partners across the all aisles to get the best bill passed possible. Yes, the Libertarian Party has its principles of minimal government and maximum individual liberty and rights. But we also have our pragmatic side and our pragmatic streak, as is evidenced by last legislative cycle. There are things that we won't compromise on, but at the end of the day, we believe it is better to get something through that is agreeable to us than to just throw our hands up, walk away, and watch the abhorrent get passed by others who we have not worked with and didn't even consult with. And so because of that, we will work with the USP, who is arguably on the opposite end of the political axis from us, however you want it, whichever political compass you want to use. Green Party, I think there is going to be room to work with them on several issues, simply by the fact that they are a leftist party that hopefully and probably will be out from underneath the USP thumb, so they'll probably be acting in a more independent capacity. So that'll be interesting just as a interaction dynamic. Cons, the Libertarian Party is, on the right wing of Bluetopia, and so we do have a natural alliance with the conservatives, and assuming they make it back around, the voluntarists. Centrists, it might be possible to work with them. It may not. It all just depends on what issues we deal with and what it is they actually want to do. And with that, I pass along to the next question or the next person in line.
All right, I have to deal with something, but you guys can see the list order. Can someone just read out who's next for me?
Fourth question. If you had to pick a rival party, what would be your party's rival? Open chance to shake shots at one party.
No
First,
shit.
the Socialist Alliance Iron speaks.
Well, I think it'd be clear if we had to choose one party what our ideological rival would be. It would most certainly be the Conservatives. They prefer maintaining the status quo and traditional values being upheld by government, and they don't support for workers' rights. Andrew said just recently that he wouldn't support much environmental legislation. There's a whole bunch of problems I could keep on naming with the conservative platform that I think it spells trouble for Bluetopia. They're not looking out for the good of our people. They're not looking out for the good of the most dispossessed among us. And ultimately, the well-being of a country is, I believe, judged by those who are at the bottom, who are the most dispossessed, and how we take care of our needy and our poor. And frankly, the Conservative Party isn't looking out for them.
All right, sorry, I'm working on something. Who's next?
United Party is next. EXP.
Sorry, what was the question?
Fourth question. If you had to pick a rival party, What party would your party's rival be? Open chance to take shots at one party.
Well, in relations to parties, I think it's pretty clear that the most trivial party that is currently in the lineup that we would agree with the least would probably have to be the based party. The reason being because they're trying to steal our flow, but at the same time, they're not really thinking about, like, in retrospect, the real measures of science. The whole party is based on a meme for children to follow along to without taking necessary precautions as to what real governance would be like. I've ran under 2 party names, which the second one actually came in 7th place, nearly toppling the Harvester Party last election cycle. This was the
Volunteers.
Kingfish Party. Another party I probably wouldn't really work with too well would be the Pursuiter Party, for the sense that they're trying to derive off both the libertarian and conservative base, and as such hold a necessary value that centrists disagree with heavily, in the sense that they're trying to sway the balance in their favor towards the left by simply existing. And I think if they were more or less to be suppressed and join one of the 2 larger parties, it'd be much easier for a system to coexist.
Libertarian Party is next.
All right. So, as much as the Libertarians and USP may knock heads on a number of issues, primarily economic, they are, at least as of last session, they were not our most stringent enemy. We tried working with them, and we did on a number of occasions. And when we couldn't, we simply couldn't. But for our actual opposition, or not even opposition, the people that we probably disagree with the most would probably have been the Harvester Party from last session, simply because they didn't really participate a whole lot in the government, even when it came to, working with us and their traditional coalition partners, as far as I could tell. They rarely submitted movements of their own, and oftentimes it felt like they're simply throwing their hands up in the air and walking away whenever they didn't get what they want. And I will say that one of the possibly only 2 submissions that they made on their own was a suggestion to gas 2 foreign nations with some kind of paralytic weapon in order to simply walk in and establish peace when we are in no way involved with or nearby this conflict. And so simply for the frankly outrageous conduct that they had last session, and their overall willingness to conduct government overreach, in our opinion, is something that just makes it very, very difficult to work with them. And with that, I cede the floor.
All right. And so next is Jack with the Green Party.
To be honest, I think, like, with the way that the Green Party exists and for the policies that the Green Party wishes to put forward, there's no real, I guess, official rival to the party. There's no one really that we want to go out of our way to take shots at. Sure, we've got criticisms for pretty much every party at this point. I used to be in the USP. A lot of people used to be in the leftists, and they had a bit of a strained relationship. I think if Wilhelm could talk, he definitely had something to say about the USP, or the Socialist Alliance now. But I think on a party perspective, we don't have a sort of rival. I think, as was said before, as I believe Ian said before, Andrew has said some questionable things in regards to the environment. So, and in regards to the policies we wish to put forward in regards to the economy and certain protections for sectors of the economy, I feel like right-wing parties our relationship with them would be rather strained, especially the libertarians. But at the same time, I think that there's a lot of opportunity for us to work with these parties and to, as I said before, come to a consensus about various issues and get the best possible outcome that can not only help people, but also be realistic enough to actually pass through the government and be voted on and approved. So I don't think there's one particular party, and I'm aware I'm sort of bailing out of my opportunity to slag off this, and this other party. But I think that that's just negative. I think that we should be doing a lot more to work together rather than targeting each other. That's all I have to say.
All right. And so next is, sorry, Waffle Boy.
Yes. I don't want to criticize any party because I don't think parties are worthy of criticism. Parties are composed of multitudes of people who all have differing beliefs and qualities that can make them good, bad, or wonderful people to be around. But what I'd like to criticize is one person in particular. Out of this last session, a man has arisen, a drunken, moronic fool known as Burke, who believes he can be a libertarian and a monarchist simultaneously, overreaching the government on one breath and say that we're overreaching in another. Completely contradictory, a moronic person to be around. The fact that people vote for him is saddening to my heart. But I believe that people can and will come to their senses after they truly understand that this person is not someone that they should vote for their best interest, but they should vote for someone who really cares about the people of Bluetopia, not someone who's not willing to go out and help the world, but only complain constantly about the actions of others without ever self-reflecting on his own destructive drinking habit.
So the question called for criticisms of parties. Since
Oh,
it
I
was
know.
against that person, I'm going to let Burke have a chance to respond if he wishes.
He may respond,
Sure.
but understand it will only make him look worse.
Wait.
Burke?
Yes, I have a response. I do understand Waffle's comments towards me because I'll be honest, the Harvester Party has been a cult of personality around Waffle, and so it's almost impossible to separate Waffle from the Harvester Party in that way. Talking to his party senators, the few that his party gained, I would ask them about what legislation they're writing, what it is that they thought on things, and they're just like, I don't know. Waffle just writes all of it and posts it whenever. We don't really are involved. We aren't really involved in this. If you contrast that to myself and the Libertarian Party, it is possible to separate myself from my party and my personal views from the party. Yes, people have pointed out in my roles that I am unironically both a monarchist and a libertarian. Those two are entirely possible to coexist because libertarianism is based on minimal government, and at its, in my personal opinion, the finest form, the national government, as it were, should be little more than an executor of the few responsibilities it is charged with. That being said, I recognize that monarchism is not popular with the majority of people in general, let alone probably within my party. And so never have I once actually tried to press that personal view onto my party or onto anyone else in Bluetopia or the rest of the server. And so to say that because I do unironically hold a monarchist belief, that is somehow destructive and terrible for the politics of Bluetopia is simply false. I am willing to set aside something that I recognize will never, I shouldn't say never, but is not likely to gain any traction and would be more detrimental to any other efforts I try for my own personal gain, and put forward what it is my party and my constituents and the people of Bluetopia want and, yes, need. As to my personal habits when it comes to consumption of vices and otherwise, I am not alone up here staying and enjoying a good bev every now and again. If I want to enjoy alcohol or whatever else, that's my personal prerogative as an individual person. And because of that, I am also responsible for my own actions, including if those ever do harm anyone else. But because I am a responsible individual, I make sure that does not happen. And I do enjoy things in moderation, even if it does overall go to a large amount. So with that, I will cede the floor back.
All right. So same question. If you had to pick a rival party, what would be your party's rival? Conservative Party, Andrew Robinson. Go ahead.
Well, as of right now, I wouldn't make any rivalries as of right now, considering there's new leadership under about almost every party. But if I'm going to have to pick one ideology-wise, more than likely, it's obviously going to be the socialists. I mean, the reason why do we want to be a rival with the socialists is because they favor like socialism and they want to completely like change like a complete structure like capitalism. They think socialism is good when really it's not. It calls for literally more government power and a bigger structure of government, which no one in the conservatives really favors and not even libertarians favor. So that's why it sucks. And then they say like, well, we need to provide more LGBTQ rights and that stuff. Is like, I'm pretty sure we've done that, but if we're not, we can already provide them rights, but we don't need to provide them more rights. I mean, like literally, I will work with like any party that like fits my ideals and benefits of my party and myself and my constituents.
Okay. And lastly, of course, it's the mute boy. You want to help him out, Waffle?
Mm-hmm. And he's just asked me to specify that I am reading for him. This is for SNCC, the head beaver, which is the partisan party. Okay, so as much as I hate the Greens, I don't particularly disagree with many of their policy, mostly because I don't know any of their policies, as they're very reluctant to say any. You've often seen me taking shots at the Libertarians, and honestly, you'll start to see why. They support a partisan system where they are the head party, and that is why they have possessed the 10 to 15. That's why why they have never proposed the 10 to 15 bill I did earlier. They are a corrupt, power-hungry system with this large body that pushes people off whenever they speak out their voices against the current system. Also, in response to the Unity Party, we are trying to bring both the libs and conservatives together and make a party that represents the people, not just the powerful. Also, that's it.
Okay, and I think that was the last one. Yep. So I'm just finishing up the next question here. 1 second. We'll just finish reading it.
Tim, please make debate chat slow mode.
I gotta say that Mark Levin impression is top notch.
All
I
right.
thought it was
So,
Ben Shapiro.
Nah, not doing anyone in particular. I gave the
so
man his own voice.
it's a bit late, but Jet for the Pirate Party has joined in.
Hmm.
If anyone's joined in who wants to rep a party, just go ahead and DM me. Let me know, and I'll roll you in on the next question. So, question number 5. Our current government has a progressive tax as its main revenue source and other miscellaneous taxes, namely small flat taxes on income and on businesses who pay workers too little. What is your party's general position on taxes? Do we need more or less? And just to add to that, would you favor maintaining the progressive tax as our main revenue source, or do you think our main revenue source should be something different? First, Waffle Boy with the harvesters.
So as of right now, the taxes are in a stable-ish position. We're willing to work with other parties on tax positions. We're not super picky. We want to work with other parties, and we understand different parties have different positions on taxes. What we want to ensure is that there's enough money in the government to do what we want to do. And that's the only concern. It's not about where the taxes come from necessarily. It's not about how the taxes are set up. It's about ensuring that the lowest percentage of the population is receiving aid. That's what our big thing is. As long as the tax system protects the poor in some manner that has been shown to be effective, we'll support it. So, that's our general idea. But the main takeaway, we want the money in the government to be going to the right things. We're more concerned with how it's spent.
All right. Same question to Jet for the Pirate Party. Go ahead. You're unmuted.
Hello. This.
Mhm.
Sorry, new mic. So basically, we feel the taxes are good right now. We're a new party that just emerged, so like we don't really have a lot. But one thing we do think is income tax should be as low as possible, because poverty and money is a big issue in our country right now, or in this community. And I just think it benefits the citizens more than anything else if we lower income tax. But we're kind of in the middle of it. Like, we should let the people be to the people, and then the government stick with the government. So like, taxes are good, but I think we should lower several taxes, like income tax and import taxes, for example.
All right. Same question, Andrew Robertson, Conservative Party.
And we're talking.
Andrew, you cut out.
Oh, sorry. Yep, my finger slipped. Sorry about that. Oh, God dang it! Did it again. Shit. Things mess it up. Sorry if I cut out again. Let me know. But what we like is we like small taxes, preferably maybe flat taxes. Like, we don't like large taxes. We don't like taxes that are unusual or unnecessary. We like taxes, but like not like progressive ones, like ones that are like beneficial to like fund the government, but also way more beneficial to the workers, the people, and the businesses.
Okay. Jack, Green Party.
Sorry about that. So, the Green Party's current position is that the taxes that are currently in place, as I mentioned before, the 15% income tax, with pretty much no taxes other than an excessive consumption tax, are completely unrealistic. We're going off the assumption that in Bluetopia we have some form of basic services that need to be provided, and the government has an obligation to provide, whether they're there now or not. That obligation exists in par with the government existing. So as such, we want to see the tax system that we currently have in place being more in-depth, there being more taxes on different sectors of the economy, different groups of people. That is not to say that these taxes are going to be excessive. We are still in support of a progressive income tax that rises with the amount of money that you actually make, or the amount of income that you actually generate. But at the same time, we believe that taxes should not exist unless there is legitimate reason for them to exist. Each tax should have a purpose that it fulfills within the budget. On top of this, we have already begun to develop a bill in regards to reforming our tax system, in regards to introducing new taxes, to actually adding new rates to the taxes. This bill was actually leaked, thank you, Wilhelm, to the Libertarians. And I just wanted to make a quick point that the information in that bill of sorts, or in that sort of slide, that is not set in stone. In fact, that wasn't even discussed by the party. Crackjack made that. And he put in numbers that he himself said were just fillers. The taxes he put forward were not as a means of trying to get the entire party to support them. It was just there to provide a basis, a basic structure of what taxes we want to see. That's not the reflection of the party. And the fact I'm actually rather annoyed that the Libertarian Party would then go out of their way to make campaign materials in regards to this bill being leaked. However, as I just said, that's not the decision of the party. That is not the party's position. It's not the position of the majority of our members. It is what he wrote, and then that is what was given out. So, very basic terms, the Green Party wants to invest a lot of time into our tax structure and ensure that it is properly developed, properly maintained, is made as simple as possible, but also exists as a means to adequately fund basic public services, an obligation that all governments should have.
Okay, and so the next person in line here is Iron for the Socialist Alliance.
Thank you, Tim. First, I would like to say that I agree with much of what my good friend of the Green Party, Jack, just said. The fact of the matter is, as I've championed many times in this debate already, I believe that the value of a nation can be found in how we treat the most dispossessed among us. There are essential services that the government is responsible for providing that we need to provide. Things like healthcare, things like roads and libraries and infrastructure that the government needs to be working on, that's supplying for the people. Not only that, I feel if the wealth of our nation allows for it, we should be helping to find people housing and food, making sure none among us are starving. I agree with my friend at the Green Party in saying that each tax should have a specific purpose, and we shouldn't be taxing for nothing. And our tax system needs to be much more fleshed out. In fact, I would go so far as to saying as if we have an excessive amount of unused tax that was unaccounted for at the end of a fiscal year, I'd be supporting tax refunds. One thing that I would like to make abundantly clear is that we need to make sure that the people at the top of our economy that are making way more money than they could ever hope to spend are paying their fair share in taxes. These people that sit on top of luxury resources, while many in our economy are starving and without homes, we need to make sure that they're paying their fair share. My friend in the Conservative Party, Andrew Robertson, said he would support a flat tax. I think that is a terrible idea. For example, say we had a flat 10% tax. A 10% tax on somebody making $20,000 a year versus a 10% tax on somebody making $10 million a year will phenomenally impact the quality of life of that poor person, while the person sitting on top of that mountain of wealth will barely feel it. We support the idea of a progressive tax, and we support the idea of protecting our workers. With that being said, I'd be willing to work with any party in helping reform our tax system to meet these goals.
Okay, and next person after Iron is Snick for the Pursuiter Party.
Yeah, let me just scroll up to it. Honestly, less taxes should always be the way to go. The government should take the minimum for the bare necessities, but the people should be allowed to keep their money they earn. You shouldn't have to pay for someone else's mistakes or their laziness. If you want to donate to charity, you can donate to charity. If you want to start a business, you can start a business. We support slightly less taxes, but not extremely low, as we would not let you die on the streets. We will work. We will give you what you need to live, but you are fully capable of getting onto your feet. The average citizen shouldn't have to pay for your reluctance to work.
All right, and next EXP for the United Party.
Thank you, Tim. So, personally, from my standpoint, I think that every man, woman, and child deserves respect, and as such, when they reach 18, they come at a point when they deserve the right to economic freedom. However, at the same time, I believe that we should not let these people sit on the streets dying just under cardboard makeshift homes with nothing to eat. I think we need a universal tax for the poor, around probably $1,000 a month for a minimal poverty line, just so they can get up on their feet. This is by a monthly basis. And once they reach that point, I believe that we could discuss terms for a slow reduction towards more and more economic freedom. Now, how would I get the money? Very simple. I would find the rich who would voluntarily give it, and if not, then the government will make up and compensate for that. However, at the same time, the higher up you are, the less and less we will be involved. We're not going to tax you heavily, but we're going to need some resources, and we'll find a way to compensate for that by making a bill that works for both sides.
All right, and then let's see. Last, we've got Scavenger Burke for the Libertarian Party.
Yes. First of all, I would like to point out that the question has an incongruity in it. The government is currently funded by a progressive income tax as its main revenue source for the general fund, and then the other miscellaneous taxes are a small flat consumption tax, which has limitations and regulations on it. And then, yes, the punitive tax on businesses who pay workers too little. So I want to get that straightened out. Secondly, when it comes to taxes in a general sense, the Libertarian Party is obviously for less taxes because the government should be doing a minimal amount of things at the national level. And with minimal responsibilities and duties comes the need for minimal funding. And I think a great example of this, especially when it comes to contrasting the Bluetopian government to the American government, currently the American government funds its military from the general fund, which means there's no limit on spending whatsoever when it comes to the military. If you contrast this to the Bluetopian tax code, there is a total 6% sales tax on basically things that are not necessities and on various other things that verge into the realm of luxury or not the basic necessities. And so what this tax does then is, because you only have a limited amount of tax income to work with, the military is thus limited in how much spending it could have at any time during the year, which basically means we don't have unnecessary bloat happening and just endless spending happening. I would also disagree with my compatriot in the Green Party as to the overall basis of Bluetopia. I take a very view of Bluetopia that we don't know anything about Bluetopia until Tim or the proclamation comes out telling us the scenario of the week. The fact of the matter is we don't have basic statistics on the country, and for people to say, oh, poverty and poor is a huge issue, we honestly don't know that. And the point is, yes, you can address these issues as they come up, but until then, you don't really have anything to work with. And so I think overall, the reason for our taxes, someone made a comment on the 15% being the top income tax rate. The reason for that being is in our general fund, we are literally paying for 3 items now. We are paying for the diplomatic corps, a Senate bar that was set up to allow the legislature to have access to the items that they would be regulating when it comes to drugs, narcotics, and that kind of thing, and our education that has most recently been passed in the legislature to organize national education. So basically, we have 3 things that are being funded from the general fund. That's why the taxes are so low currently. If we do need, if we are spending more money, then obviously taxes can be revised and addressed. But until that point, we don't need a whole lot of taxes. And if we have excess taxes now because we aren't paying for a whole lot of stuff, then yes, obviously I would agree with writing in a amendment to allow for tax refunds. So point being, it's almost pointless to address all these things when we don't have the facts, and the tax code has been written based on the information we do have to work with and out of necessity. Thank you.
Okay. So before we go on to the next question, well, I've got a captive audience here. I do want to point out that, we've got a bunch of events going here in the server generally this week. So obviously, we do have the mock elections, which will, I believe, it's not finalized. It's lasting for at least 7 days. I think we're going to extend it to 10 days for you guys to basically put the, word out and get people to vote. One sec. So yeah. That's going to be going on. Make sure you guys, use Public Square as the main place to put out, your Join My Party memes, but also you can use general chat. And we have a bunch of stuff coming on with events and AMAs. Tomorrow we have, oh shoot, I forgot his name. It's one of the candidates running for Libertarian presidential race, whatever. He's coming on tomorrow. On the 25th, we've got Dr. Warren Farrell. I'm pretty sure he's the former president of NOW, the National Organization of Women. And I think he's the only, or it might be like the executive leader or something like that, but he's like the only dude who's been like in a leadership position for the National Organization of Women. 27th, we're having Libertarian Roundtable, Stefan Molyneux, Adam Kokesh, Keith Knight, and there will be a few others. The 29th, Dr. Jamie Goodall, she's a PhD in history, specializing in pirate history. On the 31st, we're having Vermin Supreme. On the 5th, we're having Nicholas Sarwark. He's the chairman of the Libertarian National Committee. Like, he is the guy that leads the entire Libertarian Party and their whole apparatus. And we've got a bunch more we're talking to in the works with. I'm not kidding. I've posted a screenshot. Noam Chomsky is interested, and we're just waiting to try to, figure out a date. So keep an eye on the events channel under server info. We'll be updating that as new things come along. And for anyone that's joined this chat, what we're doing here is we've got, the mock government going on, and these are representatives of the parties who are basically answering questions to help give people a better idea of what their party is, what they're about. And so, yeah, let me just see. We're on now question number 6, which is, all right, there's currently an e-virus going around. Check your rolls. You may have the corona. In the event of a pandemic, what is your party's response? And how would your party help prevent such a pandemic from arising in the first place? First person is Snick for the Pursuiter Party.
Yes. The Party of Pursuits has had the same response to a pandemic as everyone else should have. Obviously, we would need for everyone to quarantine and not gather in large masses. And in a simulated country called the United States of America, their virtual response is quite good. We would do something similar and redirect certain fundings into research for cures and vaccines to the virus. Every working Bluetopian would receive a sum of money that would provide for the bare minimum. They wouldn't be able to avoid paying their bills or rent, as people who provide things like water, electricity, and landlords need to make money too. We would shut down all international borders to prevent the spreading of the virus and make sure that we try our hardest to eradicate the virus. Also, let's say that the country from where the virus originated was reluctant to release information on it and try to downplay the situation. We would heavily sanction them after everything happens.
All right, let's see here. Next, same question here, and just to reiterate, there's a e-virus going around. What is your party's response to a pandemic, and how would your party help prevent one from arising in the first place? EXP for the United Party.
All right, thank you, Tim. So probably in retrospect to Snick, I would definitely agree. Give out to more so flush out a ever impending recession. We're also probably going to institute a mass voluntary quarantine in the sense of public areas such as restaurants, communal services, and such will probably be closed. But as for grocery stores and other places, they will be left open, but will be heavily maintained and protected. Sanitization is key, so it is highly recommended that you wash your hands for at least 20 to 30 seconds after using the restroom, and as such. Also regarding for stuff like water, electricity, and that such, that will also be paid for in due time. Just expect everything to be fine, but at the same time know that this will not technically be something that's gonna end very soon. It's gonna take a while, but doctors will be here to help. A vaccine is coming, and just stay tuned and see what happens.
All right, Jet for the Pirate Party.
All right. So with the whole virus thing, our main goal is, if we even get word that a virus has the chance of becoming a pandemic, we're going to shut down borders immediately. Now, the reason we say this, we'll cancel international travel, domestic flights, domestic transport will still be a thing. But the issue with a virus is you cannot stop a virus unless you get a vaccine. A virus cannot be cured, because if you cure you cannot cure it, because it will just mutate from that. So our chance at getting it would be to attack it when it starts, when it's weak. because once you start trying to cure it, it'll mutate, and then it'll go, let's say, to this. Like, let's say we want, you just need to attack it when it's first there. And my party believes a large funding should go to medical research. And that's how we're going to stop it. Because if you get it, because right now in a virtual simulation like the United States, they're low on medical equipment. We're going to make sure that doesn't happen, because if we don't have enough doctors, we don't have enough scientists, we just can't do anything, because who's going to stop the virus? So you got to attack it when it first hits, and that's how you got to just kind of get it. So like I said, close down borders, stop international travel, and then mass quarantine zones would be a necessity.
All right. Next person in line is Scavenger for the Libertarian Party.
All right. So, as some of you may have seen in the chat, I posted a flyer concerning what the libertarian thing to do is. Part of generalized libertarian ideology is the idea of the non-aggression protocol, which is basically I have all my individual rights and liberties, and I can exercise them as much as I want, as long as they do not infringe on your same rights and liberties. And so when it comes to something like a virus or a pathogen, to willfully and negligibly expose other people to that kind of thing is a direct violation of that idea. Because it is something that is not only potentially deadly for someone, but even if it does not kill them, is causing them harm and damaging their right to life. And so I think the important thing to do is, yes, obviously self-isolate, and it would be the position of the Libertarian Party to spread that message and help get the word out to all Bluetopians what they should do to help mitigate and stop the virus to the best of their own individual ability. Because this is a government where there is more than one party, and we would be working with a coalition of other parties, I assume they would also want to put in their own measures. And so I'm sure the Libertarian Party would also have to work with those partners to implement possibly wider measures than what the Libertarian Party itself would put forward. So that would probably include, yes, quarantine measures and those kinds of things, which is just a furtherance of, keeping people from infringing on other people's rights to lives. And when we do look at quarantine scenarios, as is going on elsewhere in the world, you see that there are a lot of room for businesses to fill the niches, because life does need to go on. People still need food. And so I think it is necessary and right to allow private businesses and enterprises and individuals to fill the needs that are still functioning and people do need. As to preventing the pandemic from arising in the first place, I think I would need to consult with my own party to get the more specific and defined down position for you. But I think we wouldn't be opposed to having some kind of CDC, which would, observe and, be able to have those protocols that the government would, want to spread to people, and work with private enterprise to develop the vaccines and whatever it is that is needed, because that would be almost a form of national defense, because a pandemic is something that does affect the entire nation and does affect potentially the entire world. And so because of that scale, that is something that would lend itself to the Department of the national government. Thank you.
All right. And Waffle Boy?
Yes. My party, perhaps, is the most uniquely equipped for this kind of problem. We see the flaws in the biological system perhaps more clearly than any other party, and as such, we have already been taking measures to prevent this kind of thing from happening. We have been investing in medical research from the very beginnings of our party. Our first couple of bills help provide for the research and development fund of the government that has been spending many of our tax dollars on the research of how to better understand diseases in the body, because it is essential to understanding our progression towards a cybernetic future. We first need to really understand the human body and what interacts in it. And as such, we've been spending tons of time looking into diseases and other forms of sickness that can be caused by the flaws in our biological system. So we're already on it. The other things we propose, of course, are quarantine, as that's been shown to be very effective. We would also propose a travel ban from incoming aspects of the world, especially places that have been shown to have high infection rates. If not just a complete shutdown for at least a while. But these are all temporary stopgap measures. The real answer will, of course, always be a vaccine for a viral infection, an outbreak, because it's not going to go away until you start vaccinating. So another aspect that we would like to push is the effort to combat the problems of anti-vaxxer movements, as these anti-scientific groups truly are harmful, and especially in a pandemic, will be something that needs to be combated.
All right. Same question to Andrew Robertson of the Conservative Party.
Sorry. Well, I do what's best for me, my party, and the people and my constituents. Through response to a pandemic, I obviously agree with what most of my other colleagues have just said, a travel ban with high infection rates in countries that specifically have those infections, temporarily, not permanent, temporarily. And I also, if we have to quarantine people, that would be necessary. Only temporary, but not permanent. Also, I also agree what Burke said a lot. Like, if we don't have a CDC, we need a CDC. Because if we don't have a CDC, how are we going to develop vaccines? And we also need funding for that. Because if we don't have anything to equip to fight this, then how are we going to fight this?
Okay. And next up, we have, oh shoot, I'm in the wrong chat here. Let's see. Next up is
Hey.
Jack for the Green Party, and then last Iron for the Socialist Alliance.
Yeah. Well, I think when it comes to a pandemic similar to the one that's evolving in real life, a lot of action is needed. And when I say a lot, I mean a lot. Things that a lot of people probably won't agree with. For me and my party, I think the best activity or the best action to take will be a closing of all non-essential business, or at least in some way limiting its action. It would be isolation of those showing symptoms, quarantine of those who do have this virus or disease. It would be massive investments into medical research to find some form of, whether it's a vaccine or a cure or anything. It would be in both the public and private sector. It would be a lot of cooperation would be needed. It would involve the closing of schools. It would involve massive financial support for working class people who can't afford not to work, whether they're showing symptoms or not. And a lot of the time can't simply work from home. And obviously, there would also be an involvement of the military to help people, help communities, and ensure that order is maintained. We can see historically that viruses and pandemics that evolve on such a scale and infect millions of people, they breed tension. And they can lead to things that can be comparable to the breakdown of order, the breakdown of society itself. But the out of all of what I just said, that's heavily hypothetical. Because currently in Bluetopia, we do not have a bill to outline the existence of a medical system that helps people not on the basis of making profits, but on the basis of helping people survive. We currently rely entirely off private healthcare providers to provide a basic service for human people. You know, getting sick isn't the fault of one individual. It is a burden on the entirety of society that can happen to anyone, whether you are rich or poor, whether you live in England or you live in Africa or in fucking the Congo or something. Everyone can get sick. And it is not a burden that should be placed on one person's shoulders to finance. It is a collective issue that we need to address as a community, as a country. And I believe that the best way to combat a pandemic is to actually introduce legislation to ensure that we have a healthcare system that is going to benefit people, that is going to ensure that people are provided with at least a basic level of care, and that we have a system that does not operate on the basis of simply making money, but operates on the basis of providing an essential service and doing research into things that is going to better the lives of people, it's going to extend the lives of people, and make the entire country better off overall. So I guess my main response to a pandemic, and my party's main response to a pandemic, would to be to take appropriate action at the time, and also use it as a solid justification to ensure that our country has a healthcare system that operates on the basis of providing an essential service, not on the basis of making money.
All right. Next, let's see. Yes, Scavenger Burke. Wait, I'm sorry. No. Am I? Iron. Last one here, right?
Yes. All right. Thank you. I believe personally that the Socialist Party is positioned best to provide for the people in times of pandemic. We are the party focused on the rights of the workers. How many of you, as a hypothetical question, have gone to your work, have gone to your job, and there have been people who show up to work sick, sneezing, coughing? I know I've seen it. I know all of my friends have seen it. The fact of the matter is, many workers refuse to take sick time, not because they're so dedicated to the work that they feel like they have to be doing to their jobs, but because they cannot afford to take time off work, and they're fearful of the repercussions of missing a day of work. The USP party, the Socialist Party, it always fights for the rights of our workers. We fight for unions. We fight for sick pay. We fight for time off. When it's necessary for our citizens to be self-isolating, they need to have confidence that they will be provided for and be able to afford to take time off from work without risk of becoming unemployed and losing their job and going bankrupt because of a national pandemic. On top of this, the Socialist Party, would of course be willing to reach across the aisle and be working with any other parties in times of pandemic. When our country is sick and ailing, it's not the time for partisan politics. We would gladly work with the harvesters and the technology that they've created to help develop vaccines and to help expand medical care to everybody. In fact, previously in this debate, when we were discussing bills we would like to see most put forward, it was our party that said we wanted to see healthcare reform and healthcare provided for everybody. On top of that, mandatory vaccines is an initiative I would greatly be supportive of to help keep our country healthy and prevent things like this from happening in the future. Just like every other party here, we would be in favor of enforcing travel bans to highly infected areas in times of pandemics like this to help keep our citizens healthy. Because like my friend in the Green Party said, in times of health emergencies like this, it's not on the individual, but it's a community effort to help keep our country healthy. Our workers and our people are an asset. They are what make our country great. And like I've said a million times in this debate already, the value of a country is judged based upon how we treat the most dispossessed among us. And we have to make sure that we are treating our most dispossessed as if they were our family, because they are. Everyone in this country is my family. And I want to make sure that we have the resources available before a pandemic like this hits to provide for them. And even in the case when no pandemic is around, nobody should be going bankrupt or worried that they're going to lose their job because they're sick. This infrastructure should have been in place yesterday.
All right. We have time for 2 more questions here. So 7th question, and there will be 1 more after this. Each party is a reflection of its members. Who are the members who are actually in your party that you would brag about having in your party? First, Andrew Robertson for the Conservatives.
Wait, what do you mean by this question?
I don't know how. This is confusing.
Who are
So
your
like
key?
you want me to explain like what kind of ideologies are in the party or something like that, or what?
No.
Brag on your party members.
Oh. Oh god, I don't know how to word this. My party members are great. That's pretty much.
Are there any
all I can
particular
give.
ones? Any of them that have names?
Pretty much all the recent senators. Well, I'm pretty sure his name was Dikes, Ace Nardo, and Razorwind. They're all good people.
What about
By their
Trevman?
ideals. What?
What about Trevman?
Yeah.
Trevnin's a fake conservative, and he's trying to like call me out for fake bullshit.
I'd argue that you're the fake conservative.
Yeah.
Hold
well,
on, hold
that's
on.
coming
Let Andrew answer the question, guys.
So, I recently have been attacked by a dude named Trevin, who calls himself a conservative and says I don't stand for conservative ideals.
Hey,
calls me a fake
Andrew,
conservative.
this isn't the call of the question.
Okay, whatever.
All right. Snick for the Pursuiter Party. It's a new party, so I assume they don't really have any yet. And
He's
we
got
want
an
to.
answer.
Oh, he's got an
He's
answer.
passed.
Go
No, he's
ahead.
passed. Never mind.
Okay.
He changed his mind.
Jack for the Green Party. Who do you want to humble brag about?
Well, I've already been messaged by Wilhelm 3 times asking me to suck his dick, but I think I'll be a bit more broad, but I'll stick to the topic. I think with the Green Party, we have a wide variety of members. Again, most are experienced. Most of our key members were very active within the early structure of the party and have helped to formulate our platform, formulate our policies, and actually prepare the bills that we intend to put forward. Our ex-leftist senators are people who have been very active in blue politics for a long period of time. They are people who have a wide range of beliefs and ideologies who have came together for a common purpose and have came together to actually protect the environment, protect the rights of working people, and hold other parties to account. I guess the one person, this is probably a bit forced, sorry, Wilhelm, the one person I would have to praise, I suppose, out of fear of my own life, would be Wilhelm, because for probably the longest time, Wilhelm has been around since this party first sort of formulated what it was going to become quite a while ago, actually, but I won't go into that. Myself and Wilhelm, we have discussed many topics. We have voted within the Green Party on various topics. We have proposed ideas. He is actually a deputy and was the first deputy within the party, which is the equivalent of, I suppose, the Central Committee in the USP, but with less of the bureaucracy. He has been a long-time supporter of the party. He has helped us tremendously with actually getting the party structured together. And yeah, I think he is probably the member I praise the most. However, I believe all members of the Green Party deserve even equal praise, and I could be here all night talking about them.
Waffle Boy for the Harvesters. Apart from yourself, of course, who would you humble brag
Oh
about?
well, I would never brag about myself. It's tough because there's a lot of people I'd like to mention here. Like, I would mention we've had many members that I think are definitely worth commendation. We've had EXP in our party. We've had Ares in our party. We've had tons of people over the course of time in our party and are currently still in it. But I'm going to pick a person who I think is underrepresented because I think he has very wise ideas, who's contributed a lot, and it's a CEO of racism. He's a very wise person. His name doesn't always reflect it, but he really does have good ideas. He does a good job. Came up with some really cool ideas for the party, and I think he's definitely someone that you guys should. I would brag about having him just because of like his intelligence and his yeah, that's just that. I think he has some of the more unique ideas out there.
All right. So, in less than 30 seconds, you were called out, Trebman. If you could quickly respond. Go ahead.
Hello. I was called out by my conservative leader, Andrew Robertson. I think it's very insensitive for him to call out one of his own voters in such a way when he does not truly represent conservative ideals. Instead, is a puppet to the larger, broader Libertarian Party. The Conservative Party needs a new leader, and I will be there for that.
All right. Please mute your. Sorry. Please mute yourself, Trevman. You got background noise. EXP United Party.
The Unity Party, actually. And oh boy, we have a lot of endorsements from Mod Team. Thank you so much to all these people, but I will just do a quick shout out of probably the larger people. First and foremost, our leader, David, was the one who originally created the idea of a new centrist party. Sorry for the background noise. He's been with us since day one, thinking of these ideas. Mr. Aries, remarkably, actually has brought on a lot of these as well, and I thank him dearly for that. He's a strong, kind soul. I'd also like to thank Kale, Roratan, Mike Escape, Samuel Star Charger, also supporting us on our venture as we move forward to unite the moderate field and maintain a strong position of reason in these dying times. We will stay to the end. Thank you all.
All right. And Jet is from a new party. So Iron for the Socialist Alliance.
Wait. I have one endorsement.
Oh, sure. Go ahead.
Well, I think it's the Harvesters. They said that they would like to seek relations with us.
Mhm.
But I was branching off from the Libertarians. That's where my ideals are coming off of. So like, I don't know, it's unofficial, but like, I really do seek to close ties with them. So.
All right. So Iron for the Socialist Alliance.
Thank you, Tim. I'm very proud of many of the members of my party. From my good friend Golobama, who identifies himself as a democratic socialist, to my buddy Broken Polecat, who he himself is a syndicalist. The true worth of our party comes from its nature as being an umbrella party for all people on the left in Bluetopia. The fact of the matter is, Tim, that the Libertarian Party in Bluetopia has dominated our government since its inception. The Socialist Alliance works tirelessly with each other day in, day out to make sure that we provide for the workers of Bluetopia and protect them from the overreach and greed of multinational corporations that many of my right-leaning friends in Blutopian government gladly embrace. For that reason, it's hard to choose just one member of my party, and I love them all.
All right. Scavenger Berg for the Libertarians.
All right. Thank you, Tim. I would like to give a shout out to Tim because despite being an admin and because of that having to keep himself removed from our day-to-day operations, as it were, it's nice to have the Council of Tim occasionally come down from the heavenly heights and weigh in on our low doings. That being said, I would like to shout out to Electron, my Jewish brother over in Israel. Dude's pretty based. He may not be the most active, but when he does contribute, it's always good to get his input. Nonsense, the current party leader, I'd like to thank him for keeping us anchored and based, as it were, because he is a boomer, as it were. So it's nice having a little bit of age and experience weighing in and providing us on a different viewpoint to our ideology than the rest of us may have due to our younger demographic, and in fact, what any of the other parties might have. Leto Atreides, I'd use the term woke, but he's also libertarian, so I guess it's always interesting getting his input for that more out there, but still libertarian perspective. Bandy, it's always nice to get him in there because he is a contributor to our discussions and definitely helps us iron things out and check a few things. And with that, I would also like to thank Samus Weston for joining us. They have been a libertarian, they've also been a leftist, and now they're back in our fold. So I would like to welcome them back to the party, and we look forward to working with you, and in fact, working with anyone who chooses to join our ranks this coming session. Thank you.
All right, so that's it for the 7th question. We are now moving on to the 8th and final question. Why should people vote for your party? So first here is the Green Party. Jack?
What's an Israel, by the way? No, I'm kidding. So I think there's quite a few reasons why you should vote for the Green Party. And again, I could be here all night, but I'll lay out a few. And probably the first would be our policies. You know, we obviously, it is in the name, that we have every intention to protect the environment, to ensure that the green spaces of Bluetopia, if there are any, you know, are adequately protected, to ensure that. Sorry, Bex just tagged me. To ensure that the environment throughout Bluetopia is protected, maintained, and, if possible, expanded upon, and to reincorporate land that is otherwise being used for means that have damaged the environment, to bring back ecology to our economy, or to bring ecology to our economy. You know, we hope to protect the rights of people, not just one group of people, all people, to ensure there is equal opportunity within our society and social mobility. Second to our policies is the atmosphere within our party. Now, a lot of parties, I'm aware the Libertarian Party operate solely off the Blue Politics server. The USB, the leftists, and the Green Party, or the leftists did, have their own servers where they organise. And out of being in the USP for a full cycle, I can say the atmosphere is minimal within the party. However, in the Green Party, we provide a space where you can be yourself, where you can engage with other members, where you can have fun, have interesting debates on topics that are not necessarily relevant to the party. You can come together. We regularly play Civ because we're all gamers, obviously. You know, we engage with each other on a much more personal level than other parties do. And that's, I believe, one of our strong points. We are able to engage on a personal level. And from there, we can formulate our policies in a constructive way. We are willing to give criticism to one another, and we are more than willing to work with members, even in other parties, to ensure that our membership and our party remains on top politically, remains capable to put out policies, to engage with one another, to engage with other people. And I guess that's a basis of why you should vote and why you should join the Green Party. We have interesting policies, and it is our members, our active community of members, that formulate those policies on a collective basis.
All right. So next we have Waffle Boy. Same question for the Harvesters. Why should people vote for your party?
As I have said in the several debates that I've been a part of now, the reason that I believe that you should vote for my party is that I believe that my party uniquely expresses the fact that all human suffering has been lowered through the progression of technology, that all social freedoms have been heightened due to increased technology, that in many aspects, technology must progress in order for the world to be freer, safer, and more justful. It is this fact that my party uniquely expresses as truth. And as such, I believe that if you believe that this principle is true, which our party says it is, that you should vote for us in order to ensure that policy is representative of this fact, that technological progression leads to the betterment of mankind in its totality.
Okay. Same question. Why should people vote for your party? Andrew Robertson for the Conservatives.
Well, you need a party that has right-wing beliefs, and generally that'd be conservatives. You could also throw the Pursuiter Party in there, but mainly the one that tends to be more popular and the one that's been in just about every single mock election cycle is the Conservative Party. And now what we do is that we take in all considerations of all our party members and everyone outside of the party. We will actively engage with people. We also put forward our conservative values, our social values, anything.
Okay. Same question for Iron of the Socialist Alliance. Why should people vote for your party?
Great question, Tim. Thank you. So let me first begin by saying the Socialist Party, by far of all the parties, is the most concerned with protecting the rights of the workers. We fight tirelessly for worker rights. We fight for healthcare free at the point of use. We fight for environmental protections. We fight for the rights of discriminated groups in our society to make sure everybody is treated equal. If these are values you share, then you should be thinking about joining the Socialist Alliance. I want to stress specifically at this point that we are the only party that has enshrined in our party constitution internal democracy to make sure that all of our members get a say in all of the positions that we put forward. Our members get to vote on every bill and every position that we work on. Our party, unlike the other parties in our Bluetopian government, are not a dictatorship of the party leadership. Everybody's voices will be heard, whether you are leadership or not. All voices in our party are equal. We love democracy. We love democracy so much that we are the only party advocating to bring democracy to the workplace. We advocate for support of unions and co-ops. If these are your values, then you should be looking to the Socialist Alliance as your party to join. The left needs representation in Bluetopia. The libertarians have dominated the Bluetopian government for every election cycle so far. Since Bluetopian's inception, we've been dominated by the libertarian. We need to make sure the rights of the workers are protected from giant multinational corporations that will prey on the little guy. The worth of, I've said it a million times and I'm going to say it again, the worth of a nation is evaluated upon how we treat the most dispossessed among us. No party promises to protect the average citizen the way the Social Alliance does. Please, if these values are your values, join us.
Okay. EXP for the whatever the hell you're calling yourselves now. United Party?
Yeah, no, Unity Party. I don't know why you keep bringing them. So in response to Iron, I don't think you're gonna be the only party with democracy within the government now because of this parliamentary system. We very much are gonna advocate for that as well. But also, I think the main reason you should vote for us is that we are here to present a third-based opinion that is fact-checking both sides in a pragmatic manner, which allows for a proper rebuttal to both arguments and to see which is more valid and better for the people overall. Also, personally, I think it's time that we have a new center-leaning party. We haven't had one quite some time now. The first cycle was the last time that a center-leaning party truly made the highlights. We also have a large array of endorsements, so very much so that I believe we be able to gravitate to a much more larger audience. We're also not primarily centrist in that manner. We're actually more so center-leaning in the sense that we gravitate around the Overton window between the USP and the Libertarian Party, but also to all other parties. But at the same time, we'd also like to emphasize the importance of democracy and how we need to maintain that as a system, but also look at it from a more, again, pragmatic standpoint and knowing that things need to be looked at and constantly checked in order to maintain a strong government. And I believe the Unity Party will do just that.
Jet for the Pirate Party?
All right. Now, as you guys have seen, we are a new party. And I know it's difficult with parties emerging left and right, but one thing that makes us unique is that we're doing something that's never been done before. We believe in a sense of e-democracy where everybody should get their fair share of everything. The technological advancements should be made, medical bills. We believe that taxes are basically theft and that only the required taxes are what's needed. Like there's so many different taxes out there that nobody even knows what they means. And one thing I think that also puts us aside is that we are transparent. We want our people to know what we are doing. And yes, you can say this is a bad thing, but this will put more trust in the government in a time where the government is viewed as corrupt and mind-boggling, and just like everybody thinks that we're just trying to portray them and we're trying to force them to do what they want, but it's not like that. So that's why I think we're different and we're doing something that's never been done.
Okay, and Scavenger Burke for the Libertarian Party?
Yes. So if you vote for us, I think it's important to look at our track record. If you look at our track record over the past session where I have been involved, I think it's obvious to see that we have done a lot of good for Bluetopia. We have helped craft laws and worked with other partners in the government, be they right or left, to get things done. And so I think it is important to see that while we do have our libertarian ideals and our ideology, we also temper them with pragmatism, and we do get things done. And it is important to ensure that the optimal outcome does happen. If it's as libertarian as it gets, that's great. If it's slightly less than perfect, that's all right. But there are lines that we won't cross, and I think it is important that we exist to temper out the more radical elements of the government. Thank you.
Okay, and finally, Snick for the Pursuiter Party.
So you may look at the Pursuiter Party and say, they're new. They have no platform. But we do have a platform. And we want to end the current regime of the Libertarian Party and allow for the other parties and citizens of Bluetopia to have their voices heard. We want to provide for you, the people of Bluetopia, not have you provide for us. Just because the Libertarians and Conservatives have more voters in power doesn't mean that they matter any more than you. We're all human here. None of us are more superior than others. We're not just trying to exist, we're trying to provide you the 3 unalienable rights: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. If these ideas sound tempting to you, and you want to get away from the current corrupt system, please message me, Snick, the head beaver, and we'll find you a home in the party of pursuits.
Okay. So, guys, that wraps it up. We are currently having a bit of issues with reaction bots. Conveniently, seems like all the reaction bots that we can use on Discord are having issues or going offline at this time. So we hope to have this resolved within a couple hours. It may take longer. It's something that's actually outside of our control, but ideally tonight the bots will be up, register to vote will be open, and you guys will be able to react in there to join a party. So if you guys are creating ads trying to get out the word about your party, I would strongly suggest, from what I've seen before, one of the most successful ways to do that is when you create an ad, include in the ad how people join it. Don't just tell them to join it. And how they're going to join it is go to, even though it's not open yet, they'll go to #register-to-vote and click the appropriate role. And just as a heads up for everyone, in the past, we've had people switch between parties real fast. What we are going to be doing, it'll again be set up tonight, is we're going to change the system a bit so that once you join a party, you no longer have access to register to vote. So if you want to leave a party, we'll have a second channel set up to do it manually, where you can ask a mod to remove your party role or to switch to another party. This is mostly just to prevent people from spamming it, which messes with the bot, or or to join different parties to kind of troll and mess with them. So again, good luck to everyone. This should be up for 7 or 10 days. As it stands, the top 6 parties will become official parties. We're looking at potentially opening that up. The exact formula, we'll let you guys know soon. Just as FYI, this isn't formal, but what we will likely do is say that the top 6 parties will become official parties, and then after that, parties which get, for example, 20 plus members will be able to be official parties as well. So good luck to everyone. Hope you guys have fun and enjoy this process.
vote for the Green Party.
Vote for conservatives.
Vote for the socialists.
Vote for conservatives.
Fake
Vote for
conservative. Vote for
conservatives.
Andrew Robertson.
By the way,
Andrew
hold on, hold on.
Robertson is not a real
for
conservative. He
who?
thinks Trump's a
You-
conservative.
Leader,
He
Travis
thinks
Blake
Trump.
Adams.
He thinks Trump is a Christian. Andrew
Tim,
Robertson
real
is
quick
not a
question.
conservative.
Real quick
Vote-
question.
Vote
Tim, in
Jet
regard to
Pirate
this
Party.
thing where you can't jump from parties, is that because Crackjack joined the Libertarians just to cause shit?
It's not just because of him. We've actually had lots of issues with people doing that.
Hey Tim.
Oh my God, Jack.
Just so
Tim,
you know,
if you're
I
if you're
didn't
removing
know
us
that.
from the join a party channel after we join a party, is there any way we'll be able to like keep an eye on the progress of how the voting is going?
Ooh, that's a good point.
We will put out daily updates with the numbers.
Wait, Tim.
Mhm.
Just making
Doesn't,
sure
like,
that
the
they can't
bot
add
break?
reactions in that channel. I'm pretty sure that's an option you
Un-
can do in Discord.
Unfortunately, no.
Really?
Discord is really dumb. The way that works is we can set it so people can't make new reactions,
Mhm.
but you can always click. If you can see a channel, you can always click on a reaction that's there.
Really?
So yeah,
I'll have to double check that. I think there might be a way. I'll look.
yeah, Discord's dumb. So
I've noticed Discord break down a lot